What is going on, prospecting powerhouses? Today is the day. The inaugural podcast has arrived. Thank you so much for being here with us today live. I'm excited for this. I've been looking forward to it for quite some time. I hope you guys are excited. We're going to be sharing a ton of awesome information today. As always, if you are watching with us live on Facebook, please do give us those love buttons or like buttons. Either way works for us. We appreciate it. Let us know if you're watching in the comments below with a W if you're live. R for replay. I want to make sure that these are the best times to do these podcasts. We're going to be doing these on a monthly basis at 12 noon Eastern, and it's going to be a great time. Now, the podcast is a show for entrepreneurs, marketers, and aspiring business owners. Each episode will feature a Prospecting on Demand Hall of Famer from our community and mastermind. Each Hall of Famer will have the spotlight to share insights and tips on their topic of expertise. And you can utilize these tips and tricks to grow your very own business and brand. Today, we're going to be joined by Andres Velazquez and his brother, Frank Velazquez, two Prospecting on Demand Hall of Famers, and their team together is Visible Agency. Andres, Frank, so excited to have you here. Thanks, guys, for being here.
Thank you for having us. We're excited as well.
Love it, guys.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you.
So basically how we're going to be going about this today is we're going to have some questions here about entrepreneurial journey. Then we're going to be talking about branding, cohesive marketing, processes, and everything of that nature. If you have questions as the listener watching, always feel free to comment below. Whether you're watching on replay or live, we'll be sure to get those answered for you down the pipeline. Now, what happens in the beginning is I'm going to share with you guys the success story of this POD Hall of Famer and how they were able to get to this next level so that you can be inspired by that, understand where they're coming from and their expertise. So when Andres joined Prospecting on Demand, and before that, I'll give you guys a little preface of a funny little story. Andres and I spoke before he joined Prospecting on Demand, and he committed that he would join us. And he said he would join us on X day. And as X day came and went, he didn't join. Now, I didn't know Andres at the time, so I followed back up with him the following day and said, hey, what happened? Why are you not in the Prospecting on Demand family yet? And he sent me a message that I thought was complete BS. He said, Alex, I actually got into a car accident yesterday. I'll have to get back to you. And I thought, I've heard every excuse in the book, but I haven't heard that one. Before I could even message him that, he sends me over a photo of the car that hit his car. And then I knew right then and there, not only would we be business partners, but we'd be good friends, Andres. So happy that we ended up meeting, my man. It's great.
Yeah. It's funny how you remember that story. I mean, that was a crazy day. But yeah, it's true though. I mean, I don't give excuses, but it does sound like an excuse. But I mean,
that's a pretty fair excuse.
Yeah, right. Like at least, you can count. I don't think you can make something like that up, right? Because, people will think like if you do that, then you'll be jinxed and then it's actually going to happen.
Exactly. It was an interesting one. I thought that was a little funny story to share as a preface. So let me guys share with you basically the growth of Andres and his team over the last about 5 to 6 months or so. When Andres joined Prospecting on Demand, one of the major issues that he was having in his company was about staying on a one-track mindset, trying to figure out which path his company should take. He actually changed the company name from Market Forward to Visible, trying to figure out how he and his team can utilize their skill set to move forward in the right direction in their business, meaning what's the best place for them to go. Now, when he started, he was trying to figure out, do I continue offering digital marketing services, or do we offer our branding services, our listing management, our technical support, our branding and awareness cohesive marketing services? Now, he explained to me and to the community at that time that his focus and his passion was more so on the branding side, but he wasn't sure if the finances would match the passion. We, as a community and myself, recommended that Andres and his team focus 100% on the branding and cohesive marketing side because that's where their expertise was, and that's what would really fulfill them as well as their clients. When he joined Prospecting on Demand, the company was making about $2,500 per month. In 3 months after focusing on that one-track mindset, focusing on creating Visible Agency and branding cohesive marketing, they were able to generate over $25,000 in revenue, 10xing their business quite literally in 90 days. Since then, obviously, the growth has been substantial, and I'll let Andres and his brother Frank explain that. But the idea here is, and why I started off with this, is because of how important it is to really have a one-track mindset in your business, to not be distracted by every shiny object there ever was. So I'm going to let Andres and Frank talk about that at the beginning here. Then we're going to start talking about some questions related to entrepreneurial growth and then diving into cohesive marketing. So Andres, first with you, I'd love you to share kind of this mindset you were struggling with when you joined POD about the idea of, do I go route A, route B? When I start getting route C, D, E through Z, what do I do? How do I figure out the one-track mindset to stay on? What was your really mindset going into that?
I think a lot of people are going to resonate with this, but when I started, before joining actually, you name it, and I did all of the courses out there. I mean, I was jumping from one course to the next one. I spent a bunch of money last year just trying to find that one thing that was gonna take me to the next level. And to be honest with you, that there isn't such a thing, that one thing that is going to take you. It's a compounded effect of little steps that you take every single day. So the reason why I say this is because you mentioned right now saying that funny story, how we met. And I think something that it's very important for people before thinking into, what they're going to do or how they're going to approach their business and finding that person that is going to mentor them into, leading them to success. You have to find a common ground with someone that you relate to. So the reason I mentioned this is because I joined a lot of courses, I did a lot of programs, but there was never that one-on-one connection with anyone. So, I will purchase a course and then I will go through the 8-week, module, it's pretty standard right now. And I will just go through it. Maybe I'll leave it half off, I wouldn't continue doing the whole program. So, because of that, I never got results. And this is different right here when I started, joining POD, because you have a community. You and I started talking, we became, friends. So that's a good thing. And you are friends with the whole POD family. And that's something that I think, gets a lot of people to that next level because people are feeling accountable. So when you have that accountability, it actually helps you, push and move forward every single day. So for us, when we started, I think we were very much, and Frank can talk a lot about this. He's been in the game for so many years. And when we started, he said, look, Andres, when you do this type of jobs, you do websites, and because we started offering just website services and rebranding and logos and flyers, and we were just all over the place. So Frank said one day, he told me, look, so you are a freelancer. You're just trying to scale a freelance business. And I told him, no, I'm trying to build a real business. And he said, you will never build a business like that because you will always be stuck on doing the work yourself. So you have to really find that, that community and that model that is actually going to help you grow your business at a bigger scale. So, I didn't have that experience. So I was just all over the place doing a lot of things, doing websites, doing this and that. And that's when we started talking. After I joined POD, that's when, this whole thing became a little more real because we started getting more serious into how are we going to find clients? What is the actual process that we need to implement in our business? What is the actual offer that we are going to provide to our clients? So instead of, I think it's very important to know that you can have many different offers as long as they are within one niche. But the thing is that if you're spread all over, for me, I was at the time with that shiny object syndrome. So at that point, I was looking into DM, digital marketing services. But, that's something I had not experienced, at all. So the reason I wanted to do this because I was seeing that all over the place, on internet, it creates this little bubble where everything you see, everything you hear, it's the same thing over and over. So you think, that's your reality. So I thought, I was going to make a lot of money doing DM services and I wanted to do it. My heart was there, but my knowledge was not at that part. And also I didn't want to do it. I was just thinking about the money. And I think when you're trying to do something that one, you don't love and one, you don't have the skills, that's a recipe for disaster. So you have to focus on what you know, on what you like, and just create an offer based on that for the type of customers that you also want to attract. Because another point right there is that you cannot start marketing your services to every single person out there. There's plenty of opportunities for you to find the perfect niche, the right people that you want to work with and just target, that kind of market and that segment. So that's how we approached it. We really had to take it back and start thinking, okay, what are we really offering? So our offer at the beginning was just any services like related to website, branding, anything on that matter. But then we started niching down and say, like, what are we really good at doing? And something that we really dig, and we really like have knowledge about, it's e-commerce, especially because our partner Oscar, who's not here right now, he might join at some point, we don't know, but he's been working with a lot of companies that do e-commerce, and that knowledge combined with what Frank does, he calls himself, well, you can say it later, Frank, but he calls himself a digital handyman because he does everything related to digital. So that combined to his skills and my skills in sales and marketing, I think was a recipe for success. And this is what it's funny how when you align all those goals and all those all those skills into the right recipe, how fast you can start growing your business. You wouldn't really believe it at the moment because you don't see results right away. But when you start taking those little steps and really taking action every single day towards the right path, I think, that starts showing really, really quickly. Can't hear you, Alex. You're on mute.
Good point.
Yeah, very good point.
Before continuing. First podcast, woo! So Andres brings up some really great points here because it really flows into segueing what I'm about to tell you guys about. First off, what did I bring up to the table? The idea of having all these ideas, right? What I call a bunch of puzzle pieces, but not having the masterpiece or the canvas to really know how to put it all together, right? Now, one of the big problems Andres explained is that when you speak to either a team or yourself or trying to envision what you're doing in your business, a lot of the times your focus is on how do I create that next sale? How do I get that next $1,000? How do I get that next project? And while that elongates your business process and allows you to pay rent and provide and buy dinners and all that, it doesn't allow you to build systems. It doesn't allow you to take a step back and really build out your business. And that's something that Andres and Frank and his team have really focused on over the last 5 months, and something that you, the listener, need to focus on as well. Even if that means you have to take a step back and have a slightly less amount of sales in terms of abundance per month so that you can focus on systems that will increase your sales and increase your opportunities moving forward. That's what you want to do. You want to have this cohesive understanding from your business. And that is what Andres now does in his business, providing cohesive branding, cohesive opportunities for your marketing message. And I think that's really key. And we're going to dive into that here in just a minute. But before we start talking about this cohesive branding, I want to talk a little more about this entrepreneurial journey, because I think people really resonate mostly with how you become who you are now. And most people really struggle, I think, to see the next level. They envision, the next day, they envision the next week maybe, but they can't really envision what the next year or 5 years or 10 years look like. And I get it. A lot of the times I don't know what I'm going to even have for dinner, let alone what I'm going to be doing in a year. So I get it. I can understand that. But your business it's a requirement for you to build out a process that will work in the long run. So I'm going to ask you, Andres and Frank, when you guys were starting to figure this out, realizing we're doing a little bit too much of everything, let's hone it in. What difficulties did you have to overcome when you started this process?
You want to take over, Frank?
Many difficulties, man. Yeah, I can take over, no problem. Hey guys, Frank over here. So right, it's hard, right? Let's say in the last 5 months, I had a baby, moved, like we both dealt with family stuff, right? Andres crashed his car, how you guys met and all this stuff, right? So it's been a crazy year for everybody, right? So staying focused and kind of knowing, visualizing at least the next 6 months in planning really comes to the table, right? So we use a couple of services that help manage ourselves. We come in Zoom calls. We're a tight-knit group, ever since the beginning, right? Which is what I think it also puts us above, like most teams in a sense, right? Because we have that cohesiveness all together and that harmony happens, right? So we know we all each other can trust each other and just get our backs all the time.
I love that.
I think the reason is because all, the three of us, the ones that are, part of Visible, we are friends Frank and I are brothers, so we know each other for a whole life. But Oscar is a friend. I mean, he's a brother too. We've known the guy for 18 years. So, I think like Fran says, something that is really, really important though, it's always to stay focused and on track of what your goal is, because life happens, like we have a million things happen to us, this past year, and the ability to have your goal like right in front of you and know that you have a goal, that you have a target, and you have to hit that and stay focused, I think matters. Because one thing that people don't realize is that our memory tricks us a lot. We think, we have a good memory, we think our memory works, but the thing is that as time goes by, our memories fade. So what happens is that, I'm going to give you an example. So let's say I want to get into shape and I do an hour of exercise today. So if I wake up tomorrow and I say, I don't look like I want, it makes no sense, right? But we know that if we do an hour of exercise for a year, then you're going to look at your body a year from now and you're going to be like, whoa, like, I'm doing something. Because you have to realize that every single step that you take every single day, it's going to compound to reproduce the results that you want eventually. So what we are seeing right now, I mean, joining POD, kind of gave us that focus. But all the steps that we took previous to that, every single, action that we have taken, from getting the idea of starting a business to what are we going to do, from contacting clients, prospects, talking to people, networking, all of those little connections, those little things and actions that you take every day are going to, at some point, produce some type of result for you. We just don't see it now. But if you stay focused and you stay on track of what you want, eventually you will see the results of what you are trying to achieve. All you have to do is just be really like resilient and stick to the plan. Stick to the plan. Know that you are going to get there without doubt, because cannot doubt yourself. If you have a plan and you have a plan of action and you have the right coaching and the right mentorship and the right mindset, there's no way that you can fail. The only reason and the only I think way that you can fail is just by putting those mental blocks on yourself. So
100%. And I agree. And I was about to ask you about doubt. So it worked perfectly there. You already answered it. And I think that's really the key. I actually have a very classic line I utilize. Doubt is like poison. One drop could literally plague your entire mind. It could kill the entire process that you have. Don't doubt yourself. I get this message on a daily basis about people not believing in themselves. And I'm going to believe in you. And Andres is going to believe in you. Frank is going to believe in you.
I agree with that, yeah.
Your wife and your kids are going to believe in you. But if you don't believe in yourself, it's all going to fall apart. You've got to believe in yourself. You really do. Let me ask both a question here. I want to know this because I think this is one of the most critical facets of understanding your entrepreneurial journey. Knowing what you know now, is there anything that you would have done differently to shortcut your learning curve and get to where you are now 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago? What do you think you know now that you wish you knew earlier?
Not focusing, man. Like trying to branch out and get all these things at once, to trying to see which one lands and not sticking to this one thing, right? So I believe,
I think that's a good point. And something that I want to add to that is that one thing that I think we don't do is we don't prepare enough in building systems for when you actually get the work that you want. Because I think at every single point when we are creating a business, we are thinking in the stage that we are at the moment. For example, if I'm a solopreneur, I'm the only one doing the business, I am thinking like that. But you have to always be a few steps ahead of the game and ahead of yourself and thinking like, okay, the business that I have right now, it's never going to be the business that I want to build in the future. So you have to prepare for that. And if I knew before, I would have built, along with my teammates, we would have built the systems to do like all the work that we are actually doing right now. Because, people think like, oh, you're making it, it's fine, you're making money and all that, but it's very stressful, because we did not prepare accordingly for the volume of work that we have right now. So not everything, it's how do you say, like roses and
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
I know exactly.
Because, we see it like that, and we're pulling like every month we're making, upwards of 20,000, on recurring revenue, which is amazing. And it's good. But at the same time, I'm waking up at 6 a.m. Sometimes I go to sleep at 3 a.m. I wake up at 6, and it's because I didn't build those like foundations. But it's okay. It's all part of the journey, and we're enjoying that very, very much. But at some point, I'm just saying that if you start creating the systems for when you are scaling your business, you will be a lot better. So
100%.
Better off. So for example, like at some point, like if you're doing, let's say like us, you're doing branding and websites and you're managing companies, because our niche actually went from being like all over the place to managing e-commerce websites. So that's all we do now. We manage companies that have some sort of like e-commerce related business. And what happens is that we need a copywriter, we need a graphic designing team, we need a social media manager. So we need a lot of people. So what happens is that if you're going to get you're going to get a lot of clients in a lot of companies, you need to start at least talking to people that could be potentially part of your team later on.
Exactly.
So you cannot leave that last minute like we have, because we didn't have that perspective until we, started learning. And, that's going to save you so much time, because creating the proper systems from the beginning is going to help you jump that little, struggle and those roadblocks that you're going to start hitting. I mean, you are always going to have some little like type of roadblock in your way, but that's okay. That's part of the journey. But at least if you are prepared, then you won't be shocked when that happens, and you won't just be like, upset, and then you're going to just drop the whole business because you did not prepare accordingly. So I think, that's a big thing.
I think that's probably the single most important thing in an entire business, is the idea of having a structure and standard procedures so that you can prepare when you're ready. Like Andres said, remember what I prefaced this with. They started at about a $2,500 a month clip. Now, if you're thinking about $2,500 worth of website design, branding, etc., how much work would you anticipate that requires per month? Maybe 2, 4, 2, 5, 6 hours. Well, when you 10x that, and you 10x the amount of time it takes, now suddenly it's 20, 30, 40 hours that's a requirement. And now you realize, I don't have the systems in place to handle that. And then that $25,000 recurring month goes back to $15,000 a month because you weren't prepared. The point here is you can make money. You can grow a business. You can do it all yourself. You can be the bottleneck. You can fail a lot. You can make a lot of mistakes. But if you really want to grow your business efficiently, start slower, build the system so that you're prepared for the heavy amount of influx in revenue and clients and opportunity that's going to come your way. And I'm telling you this from experience as well. When I started my business, I was not prepared to handle even more than 10 clients. Honestly, probably not even 5 clients. Once we brought on more than 5 clients, it started to recognize that we were doing not as good work for clients 6 through 10 because we were spending time with clients 1 through 5. And now we don't have time to prospect. Now we don't have time to do everything. It's about systemizing your business. And that's what we're so in tune with in Prospecting on Demand and how we can all grow together. I have a specific question for both of you here. I have 2 more questions, and then we're going to start diving into branding, cohesive marketing, and thoughts. And I'll preface that with understanding, if you go to prospectingondemand.com or to Powerhouses, our free Facebook group, or the podcast logo, or the POD Hall of Fame shirt that Andres is wearing right now, every branding piece from Prospecting on Demand is done by these 2. And Oscar. The Visible team handles the Prospecting on Demand branding because of how excellent they are at their service. And we'll be sharing with you some of their thoughts on how you can utilize their insights to brand yourself and your business. But before we get there, there's 2 more very important things I want to talk about in this entrepreneurial journey that I think will really resonate with our audience here. Number 1 is about failure. Now, I'm going to preface this with my little note about failure, and Andres definitely knows this 100% because I bring this up all the time in Prospecting on Demand. I have a very specific motto about failure. Either you succeed or you learn. I don't speak failure into existence, but I'm also not going to be ignorant to the fact that a lot of people like to be motivated by the word failure. In my business and in my life, personally and professionally, I don't go in the failure route. I go in that was not the ultimate result I wanted. What can I learn from that result so that now I can be better the next opportunity I have so I succeed, right? Now, here's the question I have for both you and Frank, Andres. What's the one thing you would do with your business if you knew no matter what happened, you could not fail? What's the one thing you would do with your business if you knew you could not fail?
I will go to either Microsoft or Apple and be like, you know what, we're going to be your marketing agency now.
Oh, I like that a lot. That's a great one. What about you, Andres?
The one thing that I would do, like Frank, actually, I would look for the right partner.
No matter what, you can't fail. You just find the right guy. I like that.
Because
go ahead.
Yeah, it's simple as that. I think sometimes you do need that. Like I said, one, accountability, and another point of view. And when I mean I'll look for the right partner, I mean someone that is already doing what I want to do and that has the type of business that I want to create. So I can just model off of what that person is doing.
Absolutely.
So if I can't really fail, I might as well just follow a proven formula.
2 points there that Andres made that's very important. Number one, the way to cut your learning curve, find someone that's doing what you want to do and either reach out to them, purchase whatever they got, purchase their time, utilize it. They're there. They're where you want to be. Make it happen. Now, the reason I ask this question, and I think it's very important for everyone to understand, is because a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs specifically, mostly I would say newer entrepreneurs, people that are jumping into the entrepreneur business, whether you're starting, a local mom and pop bakery, a restaurant, a digital marketing agency, you're going to become a musician, whatever it is that you're doing to provide for yourself and your family as an entrepreneur. What are you doing? What are you stopping yourself from achieving because you're scared to fail? I think so many people stop themselves from taking action because they're afraid of a failure. They're afraid of someone saying, no, I'm not interested. They're afraid of someone calling them out for not being qualified enough. They're afraid that they're not going to be able to achieve what they want to achieve. The reality is something that I love to say, classic Wayne Gretzky comment. I'm not a hockey fan by any means, but it doesn't get any better than this. You miss 100% of the shots you do not take. And if you do miss a shot that you do take, learn from it. Take that opportunity to learn from it. Most of the time, and I'd say this is the case, most people that have had any success, and obviously success is determined in many different ways, but anyone that's had success or considers to be themselves successful or other people consider them successful, they've certainly had failures along the way, many of them most likely. Now, the reality is the ones that really rise to the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme, as we have said, those are the ones that are not faltering from failure. They are growing from failure. They are learning and pursuing other opportunities. My favorite athlete of all time, Dwayne Wade, one of my favorite commercials in the history of the world. Go watch it, old Converse commercial. The commercial is Dwayne Wade playing basketball, falls down consistently trying to do a dunk that he can't make. Falls down 8 times, get up 9. That's what he says. Falls down 8 times, get up 9. Why? The end of the video is him doing it, having a slam dunk and shooting and shouting to the crowd his incredible achievement. The crowd doesn't watch all the time Dwayne Wade or yourself has fallen. The crowd watches that ultimate achievement. They don't know all the hard work and failure that has come to achieve that goal, to achieve that milestone. Don't allow failure to stop you from achieving what you want. That's why I asked that question. That's why it's so integral to this conversation.
Yeah, right. It's like overnight success. Yeah, overnight success takes 3 to 5 years.
Yes, I like that.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's true. 2 things that you said right there, Alex, that are key, I think, for people. It's for us too. Like every time we speak about all this stuff, it's not like, I don't think we speak as if like we know, but more like we are reinforcing ourselves, of the ideas that we know, we should keep like right in the back of our minds and right there, like reminding ourselves so that every day we improve and we become better. But I think one thing people, so here's the comment. If you haven't failed, then you haven't tried enough. That's what I think. Because, failure is part of the journey. It will always happen. You just have to be like, a big boy or a big girl and to just take it and move on and keep failing, because every time I fail, I actually get excited because I know I'm one step closer to making it happen. And I didn't see that things like that before. Every time I fail, I'm like, awesome. Like maybe the next one is when I'm going to make it. Maybe the next one is the right process.
Like, don't be afraid to kill your idea, in a sense, right? Like, at least for us, Visible, at least to me, like personally, is my 9th business, right? Like, I tried so many other things, in the past, seeing what works. And so far, like with the cohesive team that we have, we've gone so far in so short time, that is crazy.
It's amazing, right? And that's what you can achieve when you understand what mistakes you've made before and how to fix them. And the great thing is, and I talk about this all the time in mentorship, and we bring this up in POD, two things. One, every no is the next step to your yes. It's like a stepping stone. Every no you get is the next step to your yes, unless you stop. You stop because you're upset that you got the no, but you can't do that. And the other end of the spectrum is also the idea of cutting your learning curve, right? That idea of understanding that you can also learn from someone else's success. If you go on prospectingondemand.com, and this is a perfect segue into our branding cohesive marketing, Andres and I know that one of my very favorite comments is this idea of the ladder of success versus a mountain of success. And I'll bring this up here, and we're going to start talking about cohesive branding, okay? And this is basically my mission statement in Prospecting on Demand. The idea that there is not a singular ladder to success. A lot of people believe that in order to achieve your goals, in order to become the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme, you've got to step on other people's toes. You've got to throw them off the ladder. You've got to, undercut them. You've got to do dirty tactics to get to the top. But that's not true. The way that we focus in Prospecting on Demand is a community aspect about having a team to support you and hold you accountable and help you grow. That we climb the mountain of success together. So if someone is a couple feet ahead of you on that mountain and says, hey, if you go right, you'll be right here with me. But if you go left, you're going to fall. Ultimately, the choice is yours. If you go left and fall, you learn from that mistake, but you should have listened to the person that was there. If you go right and you're there head to head with them, now you've learned what it takes to listen to someone else's advice. This is the same idea as what parents do to their children. Frank, you know about this, right? As your kid grows, you will give them insight based on your life experience. They will then either choose to take that advice or not. We know as high schoolers, a lot of times we didn't listen to our parents. But if you go back and think about that time your parent told you not to do something and you did it anyways, what would have happened if you didn't do it? Would have the achieved result that your parent told you not to do, was that the right thing? The reality is most of the time, yes. Most of the time your parents do know what they're saying because they've experienced it before, because they want to make sure that you're going to succeed. It's the same thing as a mentor in business. If they've been there before, you should listen to them. It's ultimately your decision. You ultimately make that decision, and that will be whatever happens is on you. But at the end of the day, if you listen to those mentors and you grow your business because of it, that's the idea of why we want to climb this mountain of success together. And that's why when you go on prospectingondemand.com, it says climbing the mountain of success just got easier because we are a team together. So now we can talk a little bit about cohesive branding and marketing, and why I have this awesome logo on this polo, and why Andres is wearing a POD Hall of Fame shirt, and why we have an awesome website and a great podcast logo. So I'm going to let you guys kind of talk a little bit about your business, what you do with branding, and how people listening here today on this podcast can kind of take some insights to then utilize this for their business.
Okay, so I think, one thing that I notice a lot in the market right now is that people are doing a lot of repetitive branding from what everybody, because,
cookie cutter.
Yeah, like a cookie cutter, because we all learn from someone. So I think the mistake is when you start learning from someone and copying his same models. Some things do work, and I think that you should always try and stick to what works. But things that at this point, that we are right now, especially in the niche that we are for, like digital marketing and all those type of services, it's becoming very standard, the type of, like websites, the type of landing pages, the same messaging, so the same wording. And at this point, with so much noise, you have to find like the right frequency, so you cut through like the noise and you make your customer listen to you. And this is something that we try to do with all of our clients. Like we really sit down every time that we're building that we're building a brand and we're doing a marketing plan and a branding strategy. And we think like, how can we cut through the noise and how can we make this stand out and make it a little different? So sometimes our websites are not, we try to make them fun and not as boring, like the type of websites. And, that reflects on your website too, Alex. If you go into like the POD site, you're going to see, the mountains and you're going to see colors and, it's all branded so that when people see it, they're not seeing the same old type of website, that they're used to, so that when people see it, it kind of shocks them and it breaks into like the noise of what they're accustomed to. All right, Frank, he can know a lot about branding and all that.
Yeah, but it's pretty much you said it all, right? And we'll focus, like, let's say right now, there's a cookie cutter thing that you can, let's say for sale events, right? Let's say people who have like online stores and manage e-commerce or whatever, right? Like there are specific dates throughout the year in which you do have to kind of adhere to what customers are expecting. Like let's say like Valentine's, Black Friday, things like that, right? Even though they're sort of dying down right now, but most people, they don't see their brand as a solid thing, right? So they go crazy and they
create a Frankenstein.
Yeah, it's like a Frankenstein, like little weird things. So we come in, like we gotta come and then we brainstorm with the clients, we develop, like a cohesive plan of how things will happen. And this results in their ROI going up, like it's just that, packing it all together and just organizing and then just doing it.
It's beautiful to say, because I want to touch on how it's affected my business. Because when Andres joined POD, we were clients together because he was Prospecting on Demand member. And then as he was going through my course material, as he was going through our branding, which at that time we didn't even have a website, as he was going through our sales pages and our emails and our posts on powerhouses and everything like that, he came to me very honestly and said, Alex, I love what you're doing in Prospecting on Demand, but your branding is kind of all over the place. And he actually he kind of pulled the curtain back on what I told him. He flipped it around, because what I told him was, Andres, you're trying to do too many things. And he said, you're doing the same thing with your branding. Your branding's all over the place. It's completely random. And at that time, I listened to what he had said, but it wasn't my focus in terms of thinking how important it is to have cohesive branding. But since we have integrated these cohesive brandings, having the proper logos, having t-shirts to share with POD Hall of Famers, having a beautiful website that kind of promotes the brand, having ability to post things that look the same in terms of cohesive branding and colors and unique style, it makes it come from an amateur style business to a realistic, real strong business. And that really makes a huge difference. And that is why we have seen an extreme growth in Prospecting on Demand in the last 6 months that we've been all working together. It's always an ongoing process. Cohesive branding and marketing, it continues to grow. It's like an organism. It's alive. It changes and reflects your growth. But if you're not taking a step back and being realistic about what your vision is of the business, about what your strategies are, about what matters to you and the people you work with, well, then when they see you, you're not going to stand out from the crowd. In entrepreneurship, you don't want to be Waldo. You don't want to be looking and trying to find where the person is. You want to stick out like a sore thumb. You want to be the neon green in a flood of red. You want to be the most clear, defined person there is, someone that sticks out from the crowd. And that's what Andres, Frank, Oscar, the Visible team do. Now, regardless of whether or not you bring someone like Visible Agency onto your team, you need to really hone in on your branding, on your message statement, on your elevator pitch, on your images online. How are you promoting yourself? How are you branding yourself? I think that really is the ultimate key. What do you think about that, Andres?
Yeah, no, I think it's true though. I think when we start, the thing is that, like I said, memory fails sometimes. So when we start working on our business and we start getting some traction, what happens is that a lot of people, they shift the focus into, so they start building little pieces and then they switch to something else, because there's a lot that goes into building, a business and a brand. So you start doing, for example, I want to be like very specific so people can know exactly what it is that I'm talking about and not just random like comments. So for example, you start building your business, and then you go into your Facebook page, and then you create your Facebook cover. And then you add a little bit of the about page, and then you're like, oh my God, but I gotta do my, let's say my LinkedIn right now. So then you go to your LinkedIn and you create another image or something else, a piece of copy for LinkedIn, and you start like building little assets everywhere. And what happens is that a lot of people, what they put on one thing is not the same as the other platform, and it's not the same. Like the images are not, coherent, and they're not the same. And then they build a website with a different image. So it's like what we said, you start building this Frankenstein that doesn't really make any sense at the end of the day, like when you build it. And although I agree that it's better to have some sort of presence than no presence at all, once you get started, it's good. But once you are trying to reach that next level, if you want, the way you have to see it is like, put yourself in the shoes of your prospect and try to see how would you rate yourself as a company if you were the one purchasing from you. Like, are you really seeing the brand as a strong brand, as a company that creates that trust, that trust factor into their marketing? Do they create that right messaging that really speaks to you? It's like everything really there for you to say, I like this company. I'm gonna give them a shot. Or is this something like? Because I've seen this so many times. I get a lot of messages on LinkedIn and on Facebook and everywhere, like pitching services and all that. And it's funny because they pitch the same services that we offer. But I'm kind of like a business hacker. I always go like, if you send me something, for sure I'm gonna go and look into the URL, and then I'm gonna start going into like your different things, because that's just what I do. I like that. I enjoy that. And 90% of the time that I see people's brand like breaking all over the place, it's just not there, and especially, like I said, if you're in this market, you want to be as professional as you can be. And it doesn't take that much, honestly. You don't have to hire like a huge agency. You don't have to hire a huge team, but something you do need to have is like some guidelines to take you through, like building a business and the assets that are going to represent your company in the right way. And those assets are, very, very simple. Having the right message, for your audience, having the same images for all your platforms, have the same branding and the same type of layout and colors and all that on your website, have it on your social media channels, have it on your profiles, personal profiles. And one thing that goes into branding that people don't really, they don't think about this all the time. It's actually how you connect all of the different parts together. People think sometimes branding is just about like, the look of your website and the layout and all that, but it's more than that. You have to really think about like the marketing that goes behind your whole company. So you are always trying to funnel people into taking one action, not a million actions, unless you're a huge company and then you have the means to like try many different things. But if you're just starting out, you have to really think about what is the one thing that I want to achieve with my business. So for example, for us, we are not trying to do like logos for clients or flyers or business cards and little things. I mean, we do a lot of that when we are offering the service that we offer to our clients, which is company management. So we manage the whole company, the branding part and the development part. So inside of that, there's many little tasks that we do, but it's when we direct and we get people to purchase our main package, which is what we want to offer. So we're not going to start working with the client because they come to us and they say, oh, can you create a logo for us? We'll happily refer that person to someone else. And you have to learn to say no and say, this is not something within the scope of what we do, because if you start taking like a lot of work and a lot of little things, then it's going to deviate you from your actual, like purpose and mission and vision for the company. So on your branding, remember, branding and marketing, like keep them, very, very tight together.
It's incredible, as we discuss this, branding, entrepreneurship, growth in business, growth professionally and personally. If you guys are seeing a theme here as we go across this entire conversation and podcast, the entire time we've been talking about this one-track mindset, whether it's for your growth as an individual, as a marketer, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, and branding, in marketing, it doesn't matter. It's all about that one-track mindset, staying on that, not deviating to every little thing. Because if you do that, you're never really going to find a path. You're just going to make a bunch of little neural pathways and not really be confident in anything moving forward. Take the time to slow down a little bit and focus on that one track. What's your one offer and your one niche and your one package and your one mission statement and your one style of branding? What is that? What is the one track mindset you need to be on?
And one thing, Alex, I want to say, like, when you are developing your brand, something I do highly recommend is just get feedback. Now, here's the key. Do not ask for feedback on the look of the website or what you're doing. Ask for feedback in terms of, is my brand, like, can you trust my brand? Does it look professional?
Is the point being understood across what you're trying to say, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can have an ugly brand, but it sells, and that's okay. You know, that's great.
It's also not about aesthetic, right? That's what Andres and Frank are saying. It's not always about aesthetic. It doesn't have to be like the prettiest thing.
Exactly.
There's a great copywriter online. I forgot his name. I think it's Brad's Ads, and his entire purpose of it, his branding is the opposite of the aesthetic branding. He has only white pages. He has no special colors. All he does is write excellent copy, and he uses that in his branding. He says, look, this is not a super shiny special page. I don't have special buttons and things. I'm giving you good copywriting, and I'm pointing you to the right direction. Now, if your business is about aesthetics, well, then you want it to be aesthetically pleasing. But the focus is, what is your branding? What is your mission? It doesn't have to be told by me or Andres or Frank or anyone. You can make that decision and obviously get thoughts from thought leaders and experts like Andres and Frank. But it doesn't only have to be, oh, it's shiny and pretty and beautiful. It has to work. It has to function. It has to make your customers want to take action with you and believe in you, right? Is that fair to say?
It is. It's exactly about that. Like, you have to really think about what works for your business. It's not about being pretty. It's about being effective. 100%. If you can throw in the mix being pretty, you know, making the website look good and all that, that's awesome. But sometimes that doesn't make any sense for your business. And that's all I'm trying to say, that when you think about your branding and your marketing, just make sure that it works according to the intent that you have for your business. So make sure that it makes sense. So it doesn't have to be pretty. It just have to make sense.
Perfect.
And of course, look professional.
So guys, obviously this is the Prospecting on Demand podcast, the podcast. So obviously we have to talk about prospecting before we end this call. Before we get there, I want Andres, Frank, let everyone know where they can find you, how they can work with you, what that process will look like. Let everyone know that first.
Yeah. So
take it away, Andres.
Yeah. So working, I mean, it's simple. Right now we're in the process of, like I said before, because we are building our own systems, you know, we are growing so fast, you know, we're trying to catch up. So we're finishing up our website and everything. So we are at Visible, that's Visible, V without an I. So VS, not like VS, but like VSI, and then just Visible, that agency. So I'm sure we can link that, you know, somewhere at the Prospecting on Demand and somewhere else. So Visible, that agency, and then you can find our website and all that. So if you go there, don't criticize it too much. We're finishing it, but you know, it's there, it's live. And then of course, like on our personal profile,
but let us know if we're carrying our point across, though.
That's maybe you see it and you're like, guys, you suck. You're not really doing what you preach, but yeah, I mean, we just try to do the things that we say that we do for our clients, you know, and this is something that we are actually implementing in our business right now. So a lot of the things that we're talking right now, we are actually going through them as we are growing. We're revising our own strategy, our messaging, and everything that we do. So this is something that, like you said, it's like a little baby that it's growing every single day, and that we keep tweaking, that we keep it adding stuff to it. So like you said, you can go there, or you can just reach me at my personal profile, Andres J.A. Velazquez.
Beautiful.
Easy.
Well, first of all, I appreciate you guys being here with us. Thank you so much for being a part of the Prospecting on Demand family, the Prospecting on Demand Hall of Fame, and of course, the inaugural podcast. It's been fantastic. Now, before we end, we're going to have this question at the end of every single podcast, because I know everyone's always thinking about it. Even though we spoke about staying on that one-track mindset, slowing down a little bit to build your business, and being able to really get to the next level, we all know everyone's always looking for the next opportunity. What's the next client, the next time that I'm going to get paid? So I'm going to end it here with keeping this in mind. Andres and his team 10x their business in 90 days. In 90 days. So you can do this too. So I'm going to ask you both. If someone needs to get a new client by the end of the week or the end of the month, what's your process? What's the number one low-hanging fruit you recommend?
You want me to do it, Frank? I have the perfect strategy for them.
You do it. Yeah, you do it.
Okay. So here's something that a lot of people don't do. One thing, you have to be willing to do the work. And that's not my advice. Here's my advice. The reason why I say that, because that's obvious. The reason the way that you can get a client by the end of the week, though, go into all the job placement sites and look for people in companies that are hiring a person for that position. So if you're doing like digital marketing, or if you are doing like website services, or you're doing like social media services or copywriting, look for those keywords inside those job places like Monster.com and all of those. Indeed.com and all those. So just go find those companies, get a list of companies, maybe like 20, 25, 30 companies, and create a message for each individual company offering your services, but not as an agency, as a person. Go interview with them. And when you're interviewing with those people, then offer your services as an agency. I know it doesn't sound very, it's very counterintuitive, but this is how we have been able to land at least 3 of our clients right now. And this is something we're doing. So if you want a client by the end of the week, there's a ton of people looking for people to hire on the spot. Just go look for those companies that are hiring people, individual people, and just talk to them and try to pitch them your services as an agency once you meet with them.
That's brilliant. I'll add one thing to that, because another POD Hall of Famer, Sebastian Miller, brought this idea up a couple months ago in Prospecting on Demand. And he referenced the idea of how the difference is between hiring an agency or hiring someone to come in-house in the company, become an employee, pay their medical insurance, pay for their, daily hours, yada, yada, yada. It actually ends up being significantly smaller investment for them to hire an outside agency on a 1099 contractor deal than hiring a W-2 employee, because they're going to spend less money, but they're going to get more revenue in return on the investment. If you use that as leverage in your sales, you can be able to close a client by the end of this month, guys. Go out there and make it happen. Any closing comments, guys, before we hop off for the day?
Don't be afraid to fail, and just do it.
Amen.
Nike, just do it.
Just do it.
No, I have one last thing regarding that, what you just said about make sure that you tell the prospect when you are meeting with them, just let them know the difference between hiring one person and for the same fee, maybe you are going to hire an entire team that is going to work with you. So people like to think about numbers, and when they see like the big picture and they see there's a lot of people that are going to be involved, a lot of hands taking care of my stuff instead of one person, there's no way that you can not close that sale. So, it's worked for us, and I'm sure it's going to work for you guys too.
100%. Andres, Frank, thank you so much for being here on the inaugural podcast. I really appreciate it. For everyone listening, thank you so much for taking the time today. We will see you guys on the next one.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, everybody.
Take care, everybody. Goodbye.